My name is Anissa. I run AnimeCards.org, or ACO for short. ACO compiles information on anime, that is Japanese animation, trading cards in English. If you'd like to contribute or just talk trading cards, please join us on our Discord server. The invitation is on the website. This is part of our Real versus Fake series of videos where we take cards and analyze in way too much detail whether or not they are real licensed cards or whether they're fake. My conclusions are evidence-based best guesses, but if I'm missing anything, please leave a comment or send me a message on Discord. For the first several videos of our Fake versus Real series, with permission from the original poster, we are going to go through these images posted on Reddit several years ago. There's a lot of them, so stay with us. Alright, some background on these images. These were posted by a Reddit user several years ago asking whether or not these cards were fake or not. And they got some advice on the forum. I also added some advice for them. The images were really, really high quality pictures at the front and back, so I thought they'd make great lesson material to teach people about how to identify fake cards and real cards. Now, given that I am not a Sailor Moon card expert, there are going to be a lot of places where I just don't know initially the answer. But I think we can go through some basic analysis and look at what we can see without actually having the cards in our hands. You can look at the images and say, okay, this is probably a fake. Okay, this is probably authentic. The Reddit user posted several pages, and for this video, we're just going to go through the first page. If you've seen the past few videos that I posted, I always try to do a basic fake check. So the first thing in the fake check is to first look at a prism pattern. If it's supposed to be a 90s Sailor Moon card, one of the original cards that was released when Sailor Moon was on air in Japan, please be suspicious of anything that isn't a square diamond-like pattern. There were exceptions, for sure, but by far this is the easiest way to spot a fake. Be especially suspicious of fancy patterns like swirls and flowers and starburst, especially ones that sort of distract from the image itself. The same card with different prism patterns is also a huge red flag. One type or one rarity of a card usually had a certain look to it. So if you're looking at two different cards in your collection and they have different prism patterns, one or both of them is almost certainly a fake. And the second thing is to always check the printing. Are the words cut off? Is it blurry? Is it offset or is it tilted? If you're looking at auctions online and you're not sure the authenticity just by looking at the front of the card, ask for a picture or scan of the back. And if the seller refuses to provide an image of the back of the card, if you already have doubts, honestly, I'd walk away from that. I'm sure everyone has their reasons, but I think you should be able to ask for and receive the back scan of a card. So let's just take a look at this first page, which is showing the front, or what that person thought was the front of the cards. And just looking at this, just looking at what you can see here, these bottom two look pretty authentic to me. The prism pattern is the classic prism pattern of that time, the sort of square diamond. Not too exciting, but it's definitely consistent and high quality. The printing is clear and crisp. I want you to compare that to this Hotaru card with Chibiusa. You can see, obviously, first of all, the prism pattern is not the typical prism pattern. And more obviously, here is obviously some letters are being cut off here. I can understand thinking, well, okay, maybe that was a style choice, like you have in clothing where you're deliberately exposing seams or damaged edges or something like that. But no, not in these 90s cards. Having the lettering cut off, especially something as important as the name of the anime, no. That wasn't typical in 90s Japanese cards. They wouldn't have gone out of the factory. So based on these two basic checks, looking at the prisms, looking at the printing, overall, here's my thinking, just looking at the fronts of these cards. So first off, These two likely authentic. These prism pattern ones with Chibiusa and Hotaru, these ones, I think these are very likely fake. So, little X's for those. And the rest of them, I am suspicious because the prism pattern isn't typical. But it isn't bad. There aren't any printer errors. And maybe because I'm not a Sailor Moon card expert, maybe it's just cards I don't know. I think they look sketchy, but let's give those a maybe. So based on the front of the cards, here's my assessment. Now let's look at the back scans. So I want to look at just the back scans before we compare them to the corresponding front of the card. I want to take a look at the back scans sort of independently, if you will. And I want to show you what an example of bad printing looks like. What we're talking about when we're saying things are cut off, things are offset. So here you have Memories number 37. The top, the banner here is cut off. The wording on the side is cut off here, you can tell. The logo is cut off a bit. It's just too big for that size card. Probably because the original card was a little bit bigger. But anyway, it does say Amada. It does say 1996. It has a bunch of... this card did exist someplace, but it didn't look like this. This is very badly printed. Okay, so you can see the same kind of problems with the one below it, where it says Memories number 33, and you can see that it is very clearly off-centered here on the side. The logo is even more cut off here. It's just a bad cut. Now, if you take a look at these other ones here, you see these weird gray splotches. I wasn't sure what these were, but thankfully this scan is very, very high quality, so we can zoom in and look at it. And if you look really closely, you can see it here. It says Sailor Moon. So originally it would have said Sailor Moon, presumably, and for some reason, you can see here it's more clear. Here's Sailor Moon. Again, something has been printed or rubbed off. So these are also a very bad printing issue. They would not have gone out in an official capacity. So all of these cards here all have these gray splotches that are indicative of bad printing. And you can see here, this one is also a prism on what was presumably the back. I won't say that having a prism on the front and prism on the back is immediately bad. It is very, very suspicious, especially for something that's supposed to be from the 90s. I don't know enough about Sailor Moon to completely throw it out, but it is highly suspicious, and I would want to investigate further. In this case, we can already throw it out because of these printing issues. Now, compare it against these two. You can see that the printing is very clean. It is centered. It is crisp. It is, all the ways that we want to see in it. Okay, and it wouldn't surprise you to know that these are the backs of the cards that I thought were authentic. So basically, just looking at the backs, we have determined that everything is a fake except for these two. I do want to do a deep dive into these particular cards later, because I think there are even more lessons to be learned, but we've reached a pretty good stopping point today, so I'm going to wrap this up. So, in conclusion, just by doing a basic fake check by looking at the prism pattern and the quality of the printing, we were able to determine that everything except for these bottom two cards are totally fakes. We didn't need to know anything specific about the sets. We didn't need to know anything specific with Bandai or Amada or 5th anniversary or graffiti or whatever it is. We didn't need to know anything about that. We just need to know the high standard of quality that you can find in Japanese trading cards versus the poor quality that you see a lot in these fakes. Happy collecting!